Good morning. We start with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. From the heart of the savior of 100 deities of Tushita, on a peak of cloud resembling a clam of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dhamma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for 100 yawns to spread the teachings. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renown. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incense, lights, scented waters, and so forth. Ocean of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated. I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I have collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. Savior, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect, pure, holy gurus, from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular, may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losandrapa's teachings to shine forever. Sajipuki Chujimetok Tramrirablishi Nidegempadi Sange Jindu Mite Uwa Idrokunamda Shinla Chupashu. By the merits of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one, Losandrapa, who had the morality of eminently pure way of life, was courageous and an extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of 2 stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. We recite 5 line Miktsema 3 times. Migme tsewe tenchen chen rezi, drime kempe wampo jampel yang, dupo malu jonze sawenda, kanche kepe tsungen tsong kapa, losandra pe shabla soade. Migme tsewe tenchen chen rezi, drime kempe wampo jampel yang, dupo malu jonze sawenda, Kanche kepe tsungen tsongkapa, losandra pe shabla soade. Migme tsewe tenchen chen rezi, drime gempe wampo jampel yang, dupo malu jonze sawendang, kanche kepe tsungen tsongkapa, losandra pe shabla soade. And a prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche by His Holiness Dalai Lama. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious lost Sang Father and Sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands. Please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings. Through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in a glory for fortunate disciples.
Sanji Chodang Tsojin Chonumla Chanju Bardu Dang Kyapsun Dagi Chushi Yebon Dag Drolam Benji Sanjin Drubar Sho Sanji Chodang Tsojin Chonumla Chanju Bardu Dang Kyapsun Dagi Chushi Yebon Dag Drolam Benji Sanjin Drubar Sho Sanji Chodang Tsojin Chonumla Chanchu Bardu Dani Kyapsun Dagi Chushi Jebon Dagi Drolan Bench Sanjin Drubar Sho Kangi Tuzi Nizuni Tawa Tamchi Pambi Cher Tambi Chun Dunze Kodam Dela Changze Lo Namo Laye Kedan Lo Dano Jingi Tribon Dana Mi Kedan Dandro Kunji Danum Chizom Tamjekedu Dagi Chuden to Good morning, everyone. Shobadele.
Good morning, Geshe. Shopidelek.
Devadejayi.
Do it again.
Nge kiran solaya. Karishuko gres.
Geshe is wondering what he would like to share with you.
Sanji gi by nera. Sanji 좀 된 데라. Sanji 좀 된 데 by na. 아니 shenki semleya kari samgyo ba. Kari goyo ba de kengyo ras. 아니 배 최약 부쇼지. 간스나 pen 통이시 봐. 최대 시 두고요라서라. 난주 안 계란주 니 셈을 같은 거 하고 말에 니 계란주 셈을 같은 거 하고디 계란주에 드린 공이 진 취어도 니 시투약이 니버요 말아서 직진은 니 간라바디 안간주 람루 죽지는 계란주에 펜도용 시바직 자그레스라
So the Buddha Shakiburi, due to his great understanding and omniscience, he was able to actually teach others in accord of what is beneficial for them, because he was able to directly understand and know exactly what the others are thinking and reflecting about. So the Buddhist community was able to share what is most beneficial for those listeners present. But Geshe himself doesn't have this capacity, and he doesn't know what you or other people are thinking, and doesn't know exactly where to start from and know exactly what will be beneficial for you. So if we're able to think what is beneficial, and then maybe we can discuss about this. Yes.
다들다 인바이나야 먼저다 다 약슈질이야 가리어레스라운드 최특슈질이야 만사만 대번대번다 동한문 대번 지규인자 아니 대버드야게 탑지다 동하세야게 탑지 산지 좀 된데 송여라스 다 디시샤 토는 건 드롤린 제바나 안들 펜타츠 펜거라스라
So whatever is best, what is best, we need to discuss about this. So we all have the same wish in wanting to gain happiness and to avoid suffering. Yeah? So the Buddhist community was really very skillful in sharing the method in order to gain happiness or avoid suffering. So if we think along these lines in the same way that the Buddhist community was able to teach, then really our discussion will become very meaningful and beneficial. Let's
이거 뭐라지 저거다
So there's a car.
예
Uh,
아니 들다 진짜 다 지단 산지 탑라 망부쇼치 탑라 망부쇼 송여라스 디 난게 다 중앙줄이야 류당 셈이 여반자 안상을 여바들 류셈이 여반자 아니 류 데버트탄 치기다 셈 데버트탄 르머니는 뒤고래서라 근데 류 데버트탄 도디 근데 가시기 요가제거래 쇼경하고 야랑 류제제 요가제야지 수수 류 대탄 용약체 라 류 대탄 레바이나 류 가주 대부 여바 디 저게 아니 디 린라야 아니 셈바티스 기부 소야지 연구 여러 와서라 드난신 그셈 대부 여바지 소토바나 셈 가주 기부 여바 디 린라야 아니 기부 연구를 셈 기부여는 기부여다라 너도 들으셨다 셈 기부여는 기부여바지다 아니 셈 기부면은 아니 류드 가지고 탕부 여바이네요 가지고 착부당 가지고 탕부 여바이네요 셈 기부면은 먼저에 대어 추르여서 말해스 요 말어서라
So therefore, in general, the Buddhist community spoke of many methods in order to gain happiness. Yeah. So in general, we can speak of happiness in terms of the body and mind, two stages or two categories. Yeah. The happiness of the body, so physical happiness. So, for example, we may wake up early in the morning and practice yoga or exercise, and then however our physical body is comfortable, then that much we are experiencing a mental happiness also. But on the other hand, when we speak in terms of the mind, then however much our mind is happy, then we regard that as overall happiness. Yeah. So it's almost like an overarching or a general type of happiness if our mind is happy. Because we understand that if our mind is not happy, then we're however strong or however physically fit we are, then if our mind is not happy, then we're not going to be experiencing overall happiness. That's it.
다 좀는 디기 류기 대탕용야당 샘 대탕용야 니가 송요레스 디난기다 샘기 디지드당기다 타블럼디 아니 띵사부 쇼지 디니 송도스 송요레스라 데딩안주 디 델레 로종지 마치바트 남기안주 롬센난신 로종지 뒤즈 된 로종 야고지 마치나 아니 시행카보로 와서라 아주 찌단 거 시행 가리인 바에는 콜 뒤즈 된 로종 제거에 난시 아니 산지게 샘기 디지드 당기 랍샤 텔야 네버드 간주 로종 제거도 와서라
So the Buddha Shakyamuni taught many methods in terms of the two, both our physical happiness and both our mental happiness. Yeah. So obtaining certain practices in order to increase our physical and mental happinesses. Yeah. So the Buddha Shakyamuni taught specifically also in terms of many mental happinesses that are very profound, very lots of different methods that are very deep and profound in order to cultivate that mental happiness. But in general, if we do not study or make the time to reflect and contemplate about knowledge, then regardless whatever type of knowledge that is, we're not going to know or we're not going to understand. So of course it's needless to say that we need to make the time and to reflect and study those methods that the Buddha gave in terms of cultivating our mental happiness. Yes.
the lug digital danti lug trading tolara pena nga tangbu delleondi chak somji tsesons di chak tse di lujong jire dosra lukorang ton samdana lujong ji chagores ani chokjing ni samdandi nganzu ani chomden di labja yakbu ti leya kuisho kichet nganzu chomden di sonshebe labja di toleya nganzu ta 아니 니시 지기가 반사 니 지시 계란수지 년교에서 먼저 라브시아 텔라야 아니 그박이 쳐도 이러 그박이 쳐도 차세고레스 인자 콜레 그바니 인고도스 지디 소술료 좀 쳐도 지디 쳬라야 그비 그셔고 쳐도 이러 그바니 인고레스
So the Buddha Shakyamuni did explain various methods in terms of our physical health and our physical well-being. So for example, when Geshe first enters the temple or the gompa, he actually performs 3 prostrations. So we can take this in 2 regards. One, it's a physical activity or a physical exercise. And then also from the perspective of paying respect or showing respect to what the Buddha has taught us, the Buddha's advice. So really, Geshe himself wants to show respect or pay homage, the fact that he is sharing the Buddha's teachings and that the fact that you are listening to the Buddha's teachings. So there's two purposes or needs to these prostration, the physical aspect and also showing respect to the Buddha's teachings.
Teni kichi chilaya nganzu lobjong khari cheba nero lobjong chiong digi ani kharsawarda kyap tamasun chi goguda lobden baji goguda asra lobjong chesa lobden baji goguda lobjong lamngin ji gogora asra ta kap tudu susu semnalaya ngagil chimbu jiga bana ani ngagil diwangi shenlaya kushub chetuguyo mares ani shengi labsha nyentuguyo mares ta susu ngargie kyongi tingora dinza ngargir shomya gobachi gyores pena ta keranzun delene ta chu nganzu ta ro namba sanji bi chugi ani pigita nyamlem michingi bayna kon nizu logare kiyo mares ta chu nyamlin chingi jin bayna ani chu nyembi thoma delaya ani chu nyensa delaya chasum chegoya di dandanan shingi lula tembi penyu ani 년주 출래야 90 아니 직출 아니 제법볼래야 90 아니 수수 규기 나게만 아니 점야기 쳇 나게 짜야기 쳇 딘지 다 그베 남다 mambu쇼 용구여레스
So when we study in general, we really do need a teacher. We need somebody to show us that knowledge, what we want to learn and study about. But these days, you can see that there are many examples of people having a lot of pride, great pride. And then on that basis, they're really not able to show a decent respect to the teacher or the one that is giving advice, and not only not showing respect, but also not listening to the advice and the strategies that are being given by that teacher. So, for example, if you are somebody that is coming into this temple, if you're not a Buddhist practitioner, then that's a different situation. But if you are here to listen and to reflect about the advice that is being given, then it's very important to practice, practice the 3 prostrations. So this is also got many beneficial aspects, such as the physical benefits, but also showing respect to the teacher and what we're learning about, So there's many, and then also another positive quality is actually to reduce and destroy one's own pride, by showing and making the 3 prostrations and showing our respect, and this reduces our pride. That's it.
일단 차체 갑둘라 만체 차체 신고질다 차체 갑둘라 그기 생이다 무슨 피기 개춘 상고에 저러스 대창상 상와이나 아니 배야고 요레스 배는 아주 라반 두스 샤고레스 두스 see this
See the hands with his thumbs?
yeah 두스 샤고레스라 가시 두스 샤고레스다 네 아니 넘버 산기비게 아니 차츠비게 라바작탄드 마레스 두스 시디게 베나 술라이네야 토지치스 thank you 랍초그레스 네 차츠비 갑둘라 두스 샤고레스
So when we go to prostrate, the prostration itself has certain characteristics. And if we're able to complete or fulfill all these characteristics, that would be really great, really the best. Yeah. So most of you most likely know, but when you make your prostration, you hold your hands up with your fingers outright, with your thumbs inside, like Geshe had demonstrated. Some people, however, have their thumbs sort of facing outwards. Yeah. So, and this type of hand position is actually not a Buddhist prescribed hand position. If you want to say thank you or show thanks, then yes, you put your hands in this way. But if when you're making prostration, have your hands at flat, your fingers flat with your thumbs on the inside, like Geshe demonstrated. Let's do that.
The dusina lagwa tongba chasons. Lagwa temu dus lagwa ji tongba chasons. Dusina temu ni nalo yanza digi norbu tsungures. Tsundin chile ya norbu lagwa nalo la ya norbu chachi ti chachi ya ani kunjo la ya kuba chigin slavan diko mixage ndo asra. Dili tsungures. Tsundin ro dire ndo asra.
So if we have the thumbs that are being held out, then actually the inside of our cupped hands together becomes empty. Yeah, it is empty. So if you place your thumbs inwardly, then that represents a precious jewel, and this shows greater respect. So this is representing the precious jewel that we're offering to the Buddhas. That's it.
테레다 계란서 마싱이 차 세단지 람나 득사레스 라 같이 미싱이요라다 먼저 미싱이 들려야 다 로봇이야디 기세슈들에도 진짜 아니 녜차 세단지 람고스 라 아니 들려야 nenga 됐도
So Geshe would like to actually share with you the example of making a correct prostration with all the characteristics. But perhaps some of you don't know exactly. So Geshe feels that he would like to do this. So Geshe had demonstrated the 5-point prostration or the short prostration. 5 points, and now he's demonstrating the long full length prostration.
레라우 임발야 삼성한저 남의 쇼트보다 싫어.
Nameshor,
아니
mistake.
노트보다 싫어.
So easily, so sometimes it's very easy for us to make slight mistakes when making prostrations.
니 아마 로제치 캬니레 니만 딱 봐. 니게 단다 차 림부디 니게 세거레스. 쇼기 자콘다 자세기요스 아마.
So Geshe's mother, who is 82 years old, every morning and evening, she does 200 full-length prostrations.
야 아마 부국죽지 끼레스.
Juchik, 11 children. Geshe's mother gave birth to 11 children.
다단다 두스 제총말 세져라. 두스 제총말 세야지. 두스 제바이나 디게 다 레저라. 레 디게 차와지어라. 라본 두스 주베기 차와디기 아니 레지 싹도거레스. 아니 깨워지마 라본 도도 영인도 소리 심 돈르도저라. 돈르기야기 레사야기 닌가요레스. 제초 말레스. 제나 롱고 말레스. 딘디 송고다스다. 대소 가인면나 간지 아니 인지부시다 요 말레스. 비길래야 안 당원점으로지. 연구요 말레스.
So Geshe also demonstrated a way not to fold your hands as you are placing them on the ground in a folded or clenched position, yeah. Because if you do so, you're actually accumulating a specific type of karma, yeah. And that specific type of karma is, if you ask, is that in your next life, you will be born as a type of animal that has a clenched or like a type of animal that has hooves, yeah. So, and also if you do in this fashion with a clenched fist, it doesn't look very nice. It's not very beautiful looking. So it's this is one way not to hold your hands while you're making prostration.
아니 루제기 돈이 셔바는 간주 라고 두스파 제니 살라 때문에 두스 제니야 랑바이나 락베자 파 탱그도 아스라 락베자 반 탱운디 류종래 야샤야다마 류종 차가도 아스라 류자 가주 탱투바이나 류종 차가 와라스 데 고번도 아스라 비기 미 미타살라야 아니 약부 아니 수수 르볼라야 아니 펜부 딜리제도 아스라 안주 주부 짱컴 소바이나 짱컴 바이나 주부 되고 차가 말아 주부 짱 가주즈 짜 샹토바이나 여가 찐 르볼라 펜 찍디 짜 참아 파스 탱겨라스 딜렌도 아스라 안 짜야부 반테나 차야부 주여바 차야부 주바이나 아니 나차 용여바 디니 용거라데 그 사람들 제와요레스
So, for example, if you have your fingers straight out when you're placing them on the ground for your prostration, then this has also got a physical or health benefit because it goes to stretch your finger nerves, yeah? The nerves that are located in your body, if they're being able to stretch out, then that'll be very beneficial for one's health as well. So, however much we're able to stretch and elongate our nerves and muscles, then this is going to be very beneficial for our physical health as well. So, and also by placing our hands out in a flat position, it also, when somebody sees this, it actually looks a lot more appealing, a lot more nice. And it's also, like mentioned, very beneficial for one's health. So, as we know, if we exercise, for example, if we practice yoga, then during that time, we're stretching out any nerves. Yeah. So if we have the nerves or our, muscles very uptight, but then when we stretch those muscles and nerves out, then it is very beneficial. So it encourages more blood flow and all of these physical benefits are able to be experienced. Yeah. So you can see how all of this is very connected.
Teni didanyamdo chak seba inarwa semla pengyo sares chak seba na chak sebi kabdula pena anin kontrol shukchenbu yabana chak se tu marda chak se agin deba kolle marwas chak seba na 다랑기 로 chak seba na lagban dus chen dige karsa kontrol shuksan dus chedi peshi yung mares ra lagbi chakja chedi yung mares pena kontrol shukchensan pesin dus chenyanga yorwas ra
Yes.
맞아 dus chetu marwas dus cheon dige ranjing gi semla ya and sem yabichach debadan gawadan kubig sem tindich ra ranjing le tindich le gores digi sem digi ani semba dikibu sogoras ra 간지 차 디기 차츠야 디기 수수 르셈 니깔야 펭귄도 왔더라 딘디 타블람 야부 요레스더라 타블람 빼 야부란다더라
So prostrations, as we know, it's also got a mental benefits as well. So, for example, if you're somebody that has a lot of anger, or by the time that you have a lot of anger, then really a strong wish to practice prostration will not be arising. Yeah, there will be no motivation to prostrate or even just hold your hands together towards the person that you're generating that anger to. More likely, you'll be most wanting to hold a fist up towards that person. Whereas if we actually fold our hands together and even just this method and in full the prostration, then naturally or spontaneously our mind will be a lot happier and develop a lot more faith and conviction in by even just doing this physical aspect of putting our hands together and the prostrations. Yeah. So based on the prostration itself, it does cultivate a sense of greater happiness, mental well-being. So really prostrations have got a good a benefit, a great benefit from the physical aspect and also the mental aspect. So really it's such a good method. Listen.
teni nganzu da kabkalya cha tsegdona ngachi kangba chamoyo laba chamoyo something dindi nyungnyung minyongshi gi dindi semje yungu yoras
La,
subol subol kyensho moyo samsung
ade.
cha sebana subol kyensho dogre samsung semje yungi yongsi gros imene di kyensho ya di 패시 미시버도치 미시버스라는 다 칸시다 빈인용레스로 빼는 간주 공발라 되지 간주 공발라 되지 공배 나올래야 저 동저 숨 쉬어레스 저 동저 숨 쉬.
숨쉬.
아니 로 뉴슈 숨지 되고라스 빼는 간주 로좀 상마 사발라 로 뉴슈 많다 되고 거레스 디 린라야 다 차칭이 만시에 차치고라다 저 동자 시디 차 야제 고부주 고기 차치고라스 이내야 니니모 그 차치니 코 아니 차샤 콜 아니 독자 차샤 코 종샤야지 니 자원이 고마뇽스 요가 찐으로 요가 야부르다로 요가 야부 말을 하면 요가 찐이 니 원시버 저니 요가 찐 총송스 요가 찐 요가도 지원디 콘주 가진 자른 가진 다가 갑도 종종 니 총송 그러다
that's So sorry. So sometimes it's possible that you might actually be a little bit worried that by doing a prostration, you might hurt yourself. You might injure your body, or you might injure your arm or your leg. It's possible that you might feel this worry. But Geshe feels that it's very rare that you actually injure or hurt yourself by making prostrations. So, for example, when at the monasteries, there's about 3,000 or 4,000 monks, and about 99%. Most of the monks, they make prostrations on a regular basis, yeah? So during maybe 20 or 30 years, however long it takes for those monks to complete their studies, then regularly they are making their prostrations as well. And Geshe has never heard during this time that people say, I was injured by making prostrations, or, he never heard anybody advising not to make prostrations on the basis of it's being harmful. Whereas when you're speaking about yoga, not saying that yoga is bad in any way and we should not do it, but Geshe had heard that during his experience that people have actually been practicing yoga, and due to damaging their nerves or gaining some injury, the two of these people have actually died by practicing yoga.
데리 아니 차도 세운디기 만족이 포와 나사용이 자살로 포와 나사용이 망체기 차치거레스 차츠는 자기도스 포가 나사 만족 포기 나니 아니 축학틱딘디야 레야딘도 딘디라 아니 차체야디 빼팽기도스 자살로 빼 마무치거레스 베는 간주 공발이야 로 포가 아니 나사용에서 차체거레스 차츠는 팽기도스 믹스기 된다 야 도지된이야 아니 덤봉ombo 접 상기세가 니 도지된이야 믹스기 초된 친구죠레스 안 델런 드로니 아니 다와 니숨 되는 차음붐 세거레스 슈 팽기도스 세거레스 로
So at the monastery, those people or the monks that are suffering from stomach problems or gut issues, yeah, then they are advised to actually practice prostrations, yeah. So when, for example, when they experience a lot of indigestion or heartburn, yeah, then they're advised to practice a lot of prostrations. And it is said it is very beneficial for these stomach or gut issues, yeah. So there are many monks that go to Bodh Gaya and the stupa at Bodh Gaya, and for about 2 or 3 months, they actually accumulate 100,000 prostrations, and they say that it's very beneficial for reducing the stomach problems or gut issues. Yeah, that's the fact.
Teni nganzu lujong tanda lokki mishingi lujong chesa teni doas pena ani gyukshal yosa da tindi nga chokbo gishi chigiyo ko tanda Colombia sasa teni Colombia degores ani kogi digi kambaga gyukshal yosa mishingi pecho shiu tanshe ani digi ko pimo chola drosons pimo chola drosons ani koran koya chebalaya ani gyawarumu tanda pimo di yakbu yomar gyawarumu ngima din nangado as di mishingi chigjina di mangtayin saris 다 차트니 초라 드셔지 요마레스 인자 아니 피기 다 미싱기 톤 디치온디 수수 르비게 니바저라 슈크세저라 아니 슈크세 딜리 기비 피기 디치온디 야시갸당 수볼 초라 수보 초라 당겨서레스 라 난수기 차트야디 수수를 니바 강요바 디가는 저거 말도 아니 소술은 maybe 니바지 된 거야 슉 된 거야 니 차가 말아왔어 다 건다 니 최대 쉬신 거 말이나 간지들 닌디지 레셔스로
So, for example, there are many people that actually, when they're doing their computer work or at their workplace, then they sit and use a foot pedal, a foot machine, an exercise foot machine. So Geshe has one friend, a Geshe, who stays in Colombia. So he, the Geshe, actually on a very regular basis used this exercise foot machine to the very point that he developed a knee injury. His knee was damaged by overusing this exercise foot machine. So also he's seen that His Holiness the Dalai Lama has used this exercise foot machine in the past as well. So it really seems that by us as humans using a foot machine or a machine in order to help us exercise, it actually can lead to a lot of damage, because you're using that machine on the terms of the machine's capacity, whereas if we're doing our own prostration, we can actually just do the prostrations that are in accord with our own capacity, with our own physical capacity, and that doesn't lead to any physical harm. So Geshe just said, so sorry, he's not a great expert in health and physical activity, but really he seems to have observed the difference between the physical machine and the prostrations that one can do according to their own capacity.
먼저 차트 갑둘라 루섬 니가 가서 왔다 냠바 용거레스 루섬 비 가서 대치 소수기 란싱기 샘다 란싱기 류기 뉴슈죠라 아니 냠바디 용구여서레스 들리야 아니 차트 온디 샘레야 감라 치고에서 개요 말아왔어 다 로그 미신간라 레차디 로그 비기 대용 거라 격보 대용 거라 소술 흘려 제바이나 아니 답이 용 거라 왔어 두 세원디 란싱기 샘레야 가서 다지 아니 남규기 샘드 마인바 남라치 근데 용스사로 왔어 딜레바 있나 샘을 류고를 류고레스 차세디기 가인내고 말다 the normal is like the Tiran Legores, Jambu, Semgam Yamba, and it Louis in a Nivanyamba. The Geshe Gatam Yungas. Mandu Sem did Namda, the Dindigan Road Savagilla, carry in a change short of that.
So prostrations, really, when we are practicing prostration, the body and mind actually work together. Yeah. So they go together. So whatever physical energy that we have and the mental energy, then these two sort of equalize and go together while we're making prostrations. Yeah. Whereas if we're using a machine, it is according to its sort of capacity, its strength, and if we put the settings at that are out of our reach, that are too high, then it actually becomes quite dangerous for us to take a fall or experience some other difficulty, But then we actually can develop a sense of fear and anxiety or worry about using this type of external machine. And then eventually this anxiety will actually be harmful or injurious to our body and mind. So if we practice prostrations, though, we can see that it is a body and mind experience, and that we are able to use our mind that is in a very sort of like equipoise, so we don't have any fear or worry. And while we're doing the physical activity of that prostration. So this is why it's very sort of beneficial and important. And then we can see that there's maybe a drawback to using these physical machines, but a benefit to these practicing the prostrations. That's it.
When the yoga tsundi, Mancha Piggy Lu Tolia, some Tango yoga tsundi, and the yoga Mazago, yoga long is another yoga Janyo Medas. Test this mother. In the yoga long is a tambo, similar chayagi, similar chayaji, tablumchi, when a unjongo goyala sobata, and she or the digit tablumchi, take dos. The Matevina, same the touching the Lugan and Roshaj. Lujon Korang and Roshaj in good dos. Charts will come there. Lujon tip Santianti. Really, John that teremo, the tell you, shooting same day go as a came dos. Same day, and Pena, and a Tabagongo and Andra, and a Kubachiki and Andra, and a big charts as you'll and a Sangi Kuson took you and then Gongo, Tindrigili, same day, and the charts is chodos. Did you listen? Nika Jondar Yadi, and the charts here, the Peshi Yashu in Salis. And it Lujon Shambadi, Sam Delia, Karimina Mixegi, Kanga Sorich, Namra Sora Teagi, Nyanga Kanji Semlakanga, the Semlangamra Let's and it Karina Nugores, the Nugores, Lusem Eagle Nugores.
So when we're speaking about yoga, most likely yoga is practiced in terms of the body or the physical aspect. So Geshe himself hasn't learned that much about yoga. Yeah, he hasn't practiced only a little, yeah. But if yoga is in conjunction with relaxation, a method for relaxation such as focusing on one's breath, but whereas if it's only focused on the physical aspect, then it really could be a danger of developing some sort of anxiety or fear by even practicing yoga. So whereas if we're practicing prostration, yes, it has the physical aspect of stretching our nerves and our muscles and so forth. But if we take from the mental aspect, we can develop a great sense of faith and respect. We can recall the good qualities of the body, speech, and mind of the Buddhas. Yeah. So this has also got the mental aspect. So really, if you consider well, you can see that the prostration most likely is the best method for our body and mind. Yeah. So whereas if we practice yoga in terms of solely a physical exercise or just the physical aspect, then on this basis is not addressing that mental aspect. And if we develop any sort of anxiety or fear or worry, then this, of course, is going to be causing our physical and mental harm. That's the
다가지다 저다 요가도 야부도 인지레스라 야부 자장에 야부 말 싸우는 라고메다스 양디 코너테나 야부요 말아왔어 아 간지 간주 루섬니가 디 아니 흘러지간 샤고야디 루섬 흘러지간 샤고야디 아니 더 디기 싸워치 차가도 왔어 근데 요가 라이브 카드라 루 아니 루코랑게 아니 란신 칸 임버가 샤치네 아니 루 육투바나 루 구제자 투바나 아니 요가 까라야 약수지 쓰기도 루 착부지는 마대와치 루코랑 흘러 샤친 아니 구제자야디 배야고지 쓰기도 왔어 란신 샘 흘러 샤친 딩암다다 지 아니 컨트롤다 아니 데차라 소베 톨레 로세디 샘딜 흘러 차기요 말이에요 로 샘들이야 참바다 인지다 지 어딘지 로지야나 샘들을 차고레스
So Geshe is not saying that yoga is no good. It is good, it is beneficial and useful. Whereas if the yoga itself is able to be practiced physically, but also mentally, from that mental aspect, if we're able to sit in a comfortable way, yeah, not rather than being uptight and straight and uptight, but if we're able to maintain a relaxed physical state, then that is the root of happiness, yeah, as well. So if we only practice yoga, but just on a physical aspect, then really, if our mind has got attachment, hatred, jealousy, competitiveness, then this is really not very useful, yeah? So whereas if we have our mind that is experiencing love, sense of daring and compassion, then we'll be able to develop a much more relaxed state. That's all.
다들이다 간지 다 샘을 용하는 건지 샘다 종달 다 샘을 용해야 아니 홈센스는 라비제다 띵삽슈디 다 남산집이 추거든요 탱고여버디다디 아니 간지 용다레스 용다레 진짜 델이야 로종 제고도 왔더라 다 수수 샘바기 우지 샘바 약부지 고고여바나 아니 디기 홈센텔이야 다 로종 제고거래 듣고 로종 로당지래 왔어 라 디치디기 아니 다 로총을 갑둘라 라 수수 로총을 갑둘라야 로종도 제투바이나 로종도 띵사부지 신투 그래스 로종 티기 수수 메세나마 펜토그리 메셴발이야 펜도 제투야기 아니 디 제투그러 왔어 당아 제마트바지 지기 슬라바나 가실라 당아 롱압출레스는 지기 죽줄레는 지기 딘디로지 상당대바이나 아니 롱압주 죽줄레서 제라 빼는 가서로시 다 롱압주 게서 제라라 로종 믹스 사바지 제바이나 아니 뉴버도디 배춘주 차가도 왔어라 맨날 깨진 걸 하고 걸다 망이만 로종 치고래 아니 단단히 깨 믹스 깨 사바지 장고래 아니 디 소수고 니버디 피기디 셔들렌 투고만 다스라 되는 식발했어 아니 최대한 로얄레스서나 아니 당간주도 이제 하고 그러다 로존 띵사부치야 돼 백하고도 왔어 춘중권을 쳐야 돼 로션비값을 쳐야 돼 배마저가 계신 버려셔서
So, in order for us to develop a very relaxed and happy mind, we need to study something that is very deep and profound. And Buddhism is actually very well known for having a very deep and profound explanation and advices on generating a relaxed and happy mind. Yeah. So, we need to study and we need to reflect about this if we need to have a happy mind. Yeah. So, for example, when Geshe was quite young, he actually undertook a lot of study and reflection, and he had a great capacity to reflect and study all these deeper topics. Yeah. So, and in general, if we're able to study, we have the opportunity to study when we're younger, then we've got a very deep understanding for our life, and then we can share that with others. Yeah. So now Geshe, he's about 50 or 60 years old, about 50 years old. So if we think that, I'm 50 or 60 and I think, well, I want to study, but Geshe knows himself, having arrived at that similar age, then the capacity for study is actually a lot less. He doesn't have the same capacity as what he did when he was much younger. So Geshe is looking to learn a new language, for example, and seeing that he doesn't quite have the same capacity as what he did when he was a lot younger. So you can see that it's very important, especially in terms of learning a deep and profound advice such as Buddhism. Yeah, that we need to try and study while we are still young. So this is very important. Let's see.
제 난주
Geshe, Geshe any concern in Tiwa Kashina, hence not to chag, Guna any Geshe in Tiwa Geshe, so.
야 지와
Did Tiwa Geshe, so.
가주
Don't chang munla.
야야 건설 지어야 되겠다
Let's see, Gonda Shuki. Let's see. And so if you have any questions, I just reminded Geshe that he asked you to bring along any questions from last week. So if you have any questions, please share them.
Thanks, Geshe. I'm not sure how appropriate this is, but I've decided I'm going to ask it anyhow. I'm just seeking your view on this matter. I've sort of found recently I'm becoming increasingly anxious in the world I live in, and probably specifically regarding worldly concerns. And I'm just wondering what Geshe's view on, from a Buddhist perspective, is on managing that anxiety. Because I don't think it's just me. I think the world at large as well is a more anxious place. Some advice on managing that anxiety, and maybe even if there's some specific antidotes or practices. So really, yeah, it's Geshe's view on that, and any advice he has, please.
Sure. So Geshe, children sampling netzo de me mambo namdak shukchewa 자기를 삼기를
미망체
미만보 아니 남다 자 남다 진항 사보 남다
남다
자 남다 사보 아니 스스기 남다 양 슈첨포 자기를 믹서기 슈첨포디 자기도 사 아니 남다티 슈 명화 랍셔 갸브로낭 아니 zambling이 geshe zambling이 미 차탕기 미기 남다 슈차 matang and in this lepcha nang
알아도 림부 샤스느라 알아요로 알아까오지 림부 샤체 아니 차부 나라 안로 아니 계제 망부 마녀느라 찹식 인욕다 계제도 세다 마녀 공견되나 남자 총 로고서레스 아 디자세 야담바
so it's for sure if you grow a long white beard, go to a cave, don't listen to a lot of chatter, especially political chatter, and you engage in meditation, then it is for sure that your fears and anxiety will be reduced by doing this.
그래도 야자 야담을 asra 만든 잠블링 미디 내수 삼았다 추수 뉴스하실래야 잠블링 내수 가리 용어디 고고요라다 아 찍지나 야기리 찍지나 디 년가래도 asra 두스 콩디 란싱기 셈래야 감랄리기도 아니 잠블링 춘주 차선디 가사칼이야 로투고요리 렌투고요리 벤조 소도 디 가츠스기로 벤조디 가츠스 슈크체로만 드즈기 아니 샘디 야 가르서다지 아 남자 아니 고야 망 데바 망 존디 란싱 샘 남자 참 샘차기도 하서로 님막 들어인 바나 베나 아니 너무 소소 나노야 데니 아니 소소소 아니 토하긴 데마도지 아니 잠니 샤르다 누블라 파 아니 대린론의 산이서 로야기 아니 상로 코라요 말아왔어 디메디기 르르친 로 아니 데고라다 아니 샘플 르르 차고레스
So it is for sure that in the world that we live in these days, we've got 24 access to all the good news and bad news. Yeah. So naturally, due to this increased access and connectivity, then there's going to be an increase in fears and anxieties, that are related to hearing all of these things. And from a very young age, we're all encouraged to look for better things, more resources. We have greater responsibilities, and this leads to greater desires and greater, fears and, so of course, this is leading to increased anxieties. So whereas in earlier days, people were not as connected, these days we're able to get from one place to the other in a very short time the next day. Whereas in earlier times, they didn't have the same access to the east or the west or in other locations. And it didn't occur to them. And they didn't have to think about them. So therefore, their mind was a lot less cluttered and much more relaxed.
제베나 다드스 스페시우레스로 먼저 벤조 슈크첨부 차원디 아니 빼마서 년가 차고 왔어.
라 얘기 서로다.
벤주 슈 첨부 차원디 더 년가 첨부 차고도 왔어. 아, 빼는 잠블리나니 더 톱친 야캅디 아리리세고라. 다 아리디 더 톱치슈 야캅 벤주 치슈 야캅 다 아리데 야나라 소 찌고라 왔어. 다 콘줄라 카리어레스 라운디 콘주기 더튼 천자 망슈드 콘주 소고라스 더튼 천자 하고라
라
아리라 더튼 천자 가주사 콘주스 굽격 굽주 고고인 직 소요르사
급추
굽격 굽주 고고 직모도 직동요르사 더튼 천자 동다 아
about
더튼 천자 직이 더튼 천자 직이 잠블리 tor샤고라스라 아 다 더튼 천자 직이 tor 두고 여봐나 아니 굽격 굽주 고고 퇴배 가르진 소고 그랬어 이 가발에 벤지 치고 그랬어 아
라
텔라 로송 카즈스탄 거다 아
So the nations or the countries that have most of the resources collected together are mainly America and the Chinese countries, yeah. So these countries, especially America, in terms of their atomic weapons or nuclear weapons, Geshe is reflecting about what are the number of nuclear weapons that America has created. Almost about 1,000 nuclear weapons they've actually created is what is he understands. So even just one of these nuclear weapons, if they were to be launched, then even one nuclear weapon would destroy the world. So what really is the benefit of the remaining 999, or almost 1,000 nuclear weapons? So you can see that really there is, look at the wasted expense of by generating these excess weapons. Yeah, that's
직 소야려야 로송 셀리게 말해도 asra 로송 슈르다 다디 로송 가는 거래 아니 미셀이야 체캡 체여라
tax.
텍스에서 인지 돈다 로송 피길 땅데야지 장부시에 봐나 농주래다 농주래다 아니 니치래 니 거야지래 니 거야다 딩간스다 relation 되거든 니 거야지래야 아리기 로딱바 단다 이스라엘이야 롤람 빌린 숨숨 제거했어 로바 제거했어 롤람 빌린 숨숨 디게 피기게 천재 녀야마도 배주체라고 말했어 나 들리지 고소 딩원이 이미 메시스로 천재 찍고마도 샘발로 배주체라고 말했어 배샤디 근데 다 딘디로지나 다디 편도 가르도스 다 딘디 배샤 소야라 미투서 아니 티워슈 남라 쇼진 로거리 다디 천재 손이 아니 다 아니 미세야 미투야 좀야 안 딘디 돌아 배주체만다 아니 남라레 임바로 왔어
So these weapons are really very expensive, as you know, yeah. And these expenses where do they come from? They come from the people's taxes. Yeah. So honestly speaking, this is really a mistake, honestly. So Geshe's heard, he doesn't know for sure, but he's heard that the US spends billions of dollars and shares that with the Israeli government. Yeah. But those billions of dollars is actually only to be used for the purchase of weaponry. Yeah. So of course, by these actions, there's only going to be increased fears and anxieties. So really, what is the benefit other than this? There's no benefit for only using and spending these expenses on weaponry. So naturally, our feelings are going to be heightened. Yeah. So because they're only using these expenses and these weapons to harm, kill, maim, increase fear, then naturally, or it's understandable that one's anxieties and fears are going to be increased. That's
덴디 임발자 단 잠블리 나올이야. this 망자 다 덴디 다 세리 버속이 소요라서 잠못 앉으시야나. 아니 여러분치 세리 위냠도 아니 데비 로숨주 십주 말씀 쓴거야. 아니 다치 나 오스트레일리아의 세리 바리 아니 노쇼그 나 유럽의 세리 바리 아리 세리 바리 아니 지 샤쇼바의 세리 바 망부냠 아니 손도 쏘진 로 그들 체진 아니 샘기 시대다 샘다 그게 세리비 니고티 아니 손제 용약이 돌아야 쇼 매전 아요라스 간스나 잠블링 시디지 용고 정나 시디 고고레 시디 용약이 탑시디 디만도 요마레스 라 세리기 따름 나눠야 먼저 잠제디 상물로라 고유여비기 잠제디 세리기 따름 나눠야 쭉 두바이나 아니 세리비 따름라야 쭉 두바이나 아니 다 되니 잠블리를 신대 용약이 탑람지 여러마도 다 딜리 셴비기 아니 잠블리를 시대 용약이 탑람 요 말이었어 막 잡는 시대 용고 말아왔어 아 탑람 셴바 요 말이었어 아니 내가 마신 대대는 시대 용고 말아왔어 저것도 시대 인가요라 라 시대 용야 탑람 찍여버디 야වරම 찍쓰야디 세리 위냠도 거들지니 완전 남비숑니 셰비기다 아니 샘금을 받디 대한 조 잠바당 아니 찍제와 생이줘라 쇠바 생이줘라 먼저 원리 미 주존을 공인시비기 아니 샘그 찍디 아니 세리비 따로 나올이야 아니 주야 진짜 야ව러무 찍 쇼지기 게시무 쓰기 어려스
so honestly speaking, within our world, yeah, within our society, the scientific perspective is very well understood and practiced, yeah. So to the point is that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, for example, over many years, about 30 or almost 40 years now, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has met with many scientists, Australian scientists, Western, European, Eastern scientists, and he's had a dialogue with these scientists from the Buddhist perspective, using a dialogue that communicates about mental peace and happiness. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama has made a lot of effort by collaborating with these scientists. Yeah. So in order for a world peace and a greater sense of well-being to be experienced in our world, our society, it really does need to come via our method from a scientific perspective. But if we're able to sort of inject or insert this conversation with using love and compassion into the scientific background, then really this would be the best approach for generating world peace and increasing mental society happiness. There's really no other method, yeah, because with war, of course, that doesn't induce any peace or any happiness, and without any work, world peace and happiness is not going to happen, yeah. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama, during these dialogues, is describing from his perspective and his advice about increasing, love, patience, compassion, and so forth. And then, along with the science perspective, then really His Holiness the Dalai Lama feels it is very important, or considers it very important, to have this collaborative approach.
Tadi sibure darwa rachitang anzule ya penjur gugu yore imbayna ya penjur chetabayna ngamra legores penjur chimbu cha sawijgle penjur di ani dagbu gyabgo gorada songyeb chigo gora sheng chogdo gore kudo gore shodo gore sambi ani thokba dirangshing legros ta di songyeb cheg cheda menda nyago da sunja nyago da me gerbayna and penju chimu changundi sunja nyagores. The sunja digi the malena so chola tangya ninga yoros. Any ben a Jacob Jimba and a Jacob the chubu changundi, Jacob the songyo check to sunja sogora, than the lavana tindu sogar. The digi and in Zambali Nyanka pechimugamas, the chasarada. The digi the yabuj songyeb chigor da digit songyeb machiban digit chig thor baina lomo kor zamen rora da dinti la sobak ro yungu yobanza ngaranzu da nganzu su la ya ro zambli shidi yong ya tola ya samlo tanggo ya gendi gyawrum ji sunga ngan samal yores su ngani Zambalingi Shidelaya Pentoya Karchetu Dichi Ro and Dijang Dig Tablam di any mission Chutambala Shetuna Yabu Perwa Yatambala Shetuna Payao Tonda Chila Shetuna and the Tindigi Samdan Jovana the Susu Tuyadina Susu and Chego de Dirazro Nanzu Mizinanole Susu Kang to a Susu and the Karchetu at the Chen Ready. And social language was the government got this gorda.
So it is very clear that if we do have a lot of resources, we need resources. But if we do have a lot of resources, or they become too much, then we've developed a fear or a sense that we need to protect those resources. Maybe there's a danger of somebody stealing it and so forth. So naturally, this fear develops within us due to the fact that we have a lot of resources or too many resources. Yeah. So on that basis, you may feel that it's a necessity to have weapons in order to protect those resources. Or if you don't have a weapon, then you feel like, well, maybe in order to protect them, you may even have to become injured yourself. Yeah. So it's the same way on a national level, that they feel that all those resources need to be protected. Yeah. So really our society has become a very dangerous place. And there is that sense of wanting to feel protected and wanting to protect those resources. But on an individual level, what can we do? Yeah. So really, it is our responsibility, in honestly speaking, to develop that world peace and that sense of happiness, yeah, in the world. So what can we do? We can learn those methods that will cultivate or contribute to the world peace. And we can share that with others. We can share that with 10 people. It's heard that'd be really good. Or 100 people or 1,000 people. So we try to learn, and then what we've learned, we share with people, with others. Yeah. So really, this is what is our responsibility in our own lives. And it's almost the Dalai Lama regularly comments on this personal responsibility. That's
The benjur maybe shidijora, shidijora, Benangala Yoresra, Kazangapena, not under Consant drone, the Jagala drone, the Nikamba Gonja Jagu Mares. Kazana Kogamda Sikama, Chilado, Chikidor, some Gamda Yomaras. Ah,
No.
and Penacuson to the testure, and the Zuni, and Mishamba shed in Yagor. You couldn't yet the Mishamba shed the was in Yagor, and Nalaya Teb Diligigi. Ah, Pestis Shibjang of Jajin Tonsa. Tinani Jeromaji and the song Niliji and a Tepchub Gears, Tepchub Gay. That thing outside Cheshire, Dini, Mishamba Kigmaras, Cousin develop Pig lashing in Mevanza, Kigmaras, and a same Cheomata. Ah, so coward runner yachi, and in a Chilamarachi, Sherman dress, Namra Chiame, shedding on and draw to Yadi, cookie Mevanza. The Yungumudas, Tachi Yabana. Malachi Chala Sachimura, not the Mamujiavana, and in hand drawn the Gonja Mamuja, Mishambala Kuching and Kambataro, she still love. Ah, the Mamujiva, the Tim never in the same thing young does.
so without resources, really, you're going to have peace of mind. Yeah. And mental peace or happiness. So, for example, when Geshe went to India resources, he didn't even bother locking his room because he had no fear of losing anything. The only thing that was sort of precious to Geshe that is in his room are the representations of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, yeah? And maybe the books that are written by Lama Tsongkhapa, the 18 volumes, yeah? And the book that Geshe has in front of him, yeah? So Geshe wasn't at all afraid to lose any of these things or had a fear that somebody would go in and take them. Because, for example, the books, then most likely nobody can read those books anyway. So because of that not having any fear, he really felt that he could easily go to India with a peaceful and happy mind. He didn't ask anyone. He didn't lock up all the windows or lock up all the doors, and he didn't ask anyone, "Oh, please watch my room carefully." So we can see that if we have less resources, less personal possessions, then really we'll have a lot more mental peace and happiness.
King Beninjo's lies. Need tape job getty, Chikton could you go to Kogu in Jire, go to Kogulo Jaskare, go to Kogulo and Newayins. Tape job get. To think you Gomunga don't tell you, and it's serious Yagomo Tontanga. Yagomo Tontanga Sana, Australia Dollar Gato. Come to do Negi and a Tangi serious Titamas, Tontani in a summitting up plenty. Mishambas and Yarner, Plenching. Now did some day mess. In a near Plenching, tape job get the Luyins, Newins. And I need don't chip in the Leon, the Killians. Ah, near begging on the Chalaji got Cheshudi, Jeromachi, tape job getting. That day, Nisonjib Chetu, Cousin, you long quarang channel, Sonjib Chia Bella, Cousin Long Yomaras, she paying long. Oh, didn't it was resident? That's a give yours that are one give yours. Shushu Mevina, that do yours.
The Betep Chupke, the local Zula Nupain.
직동 급게 급고고.
So at Australia Kadu Libyan 2014.
14.
That's right. Okay. Let's see. So Geshe, I just wanted to mention that about these 18 books that Lamasson Kappa composed. He actually bought these books in 1999. They're about 5,000 rupees, Indian rupees, about $100 Australian. So he was able to purchase all 18 volumes only by getting a loan, by borrowing the money from somebody else. Yeah. And then when Geshe came to Australia in 2014, yeah, he carried all of these 18 books. They're actually very heavy in his bags. And then he was able to put them in his room. But knowing that really nobody is able to read them, he doesn't have a great fear that somebody's going to steal them or take them away. So he doesn't feel like he needs to protect these specific books. So really Geshe feels that he can be very comfortable and very happy by not having any fear that these books are going to be taken by anyone.
대장에 단속이 내가 담을들이 아니 곰 배는 도당 초기 곰 자당 돌랑이 뜻이 lavgo samsdene ani tangazu tuzun dama songs teni jema ki sapasan tengan del mes ngadi para del ya dunda chik solo ji konsang ro chi chaso na jema sapasan tengan del mes di jeme ki pasan tel ani ngam jeyons ra ani mentune ani kyansolo ya kari ani charo shugo yana cansungal chiwatang tuwaina pe tabdiwandos cansul kari tobayawa kari gawa dingi pa labshogro asra ngaran kanshimbat and dimebaina ta kari nenga chegre samsung ta ngaran samnon yora tanda bodu janje ta kari nenga chebati en cansul ya sapasan ya ani sambanamda chinni shuyin sra.
So this morning, Geshe was thinking about what he wanted to share with you today. And he was thinking about giving an explanation on meditation according to Sutra and Tantra. Yeah. So really, he feels that our discussion is on the Fridays is really very beneficial. Yeah. So today, our discussion with the questions and answers, if in the following weeks, not next Friday, Geshe is unable to hold class next Friday, but in the future, following Fridays on a continuous basis, if we're able to discuss in the way that we have, if you bring your questions, and then Geshe will share with you any important points that he feels necessary, then if we proceed in his way on Fridays, then this would be very beneficial. So whatever questions or any doubts that you need clarifying, then Geshe with a good heart and to the best of his ability will try and share advice about that. Yes.
Thank you.
Final Amrim dedication. From my two types of merits vast the space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a grand length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings. With the points of the path I have descended, may I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtues practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Thank you.